Welcome to Pierce the Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 180, the update episode. Yeah. I felt like that was like I felt like I was trying to make some kind of ad.
Yeah. Episode 180. And yeah, you had something you were going to say there. And then it was just the update episode.
But it's a great, I loved it. I'm pumped about this update episode because there's a lot going on.
Is there?
And we're almost at, okay. Yes, there is.
Okay.
Like,
I don't follow the reseller news.
Well, I don't know if there's a lot. I know in my own personal reselling, there's a lot going on. So I'm really pumped because it's now almost Q4. I anticipate Q4 is going to be huge. I have no option. People ask me all the time, like, Orlando, like, what if it isn't? And for me, it's like, okay, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I have no option but to move forward. And then if things don't go well, then I'll have to, pivot and adapt. But right now, I got to anticipate it's going to be huge because if I don't, and it is, I'm going to feel really sad in January.
Yeah, kick yourself, just like I kicked myself for not buying Bitcoin when it was, only a couple $100.
I don't want to go down that road. It's like Tesla right now. Like the Tesla's like, now it just split. So I don't know. Sorry, I just got an eBay offer as soon as we started the episode. So
yeah, he's always working over there. So,
but it's one of those things you can get into. Like Kodak, like the Kodak stock, like blew up, and now it's not that big anymore. Listen, and Mike and I were talking about this before on the podcast. Like the older you get, the more I begin to think. I don't know if Mike believes the same way as I do, but I think just stuff falls in people's lap. Right? Luck happens, but it happens out of persistence.
Yeah. And it goes back to our very first level up review with the Richest Man in Babylon is opportunities arise for people. And if you are not prepared to jump on those opportunities, then you're going to lose. So what some people call luck. And of course, there's those exceptions.
Oh, there's some crazy exceptions. Yeah. Like, you're like, what? This person's a millionaire? Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of people that get a lot of stuff they don't deserve, right? And then you get resentment. And so you can't look and focus on what others are getting either.
Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah. So you've got to, I agree with that idea of like, you've got to go into this Q4 and just reselling in general with the anticipation and the intention that you are going to capitalize on every opportunity, because one of those things are going to be the thing that's going to be your break if you're going to have a break at all, right? And if you don't do anything, then you're never going to get that break. So yeah, you've got to go at it. You've got to try really hard. And I think that's a good way to start the episode. So what's going on in your world?
Oh, okay. So there's a lot going on. I'm finally getting to selling my electronics. Like, those cash stacks. Mm-hmm. And here's what's crazy about it is that they're bringing in more money than some of the regular things I'm listing. Which is crazy. So I shared on Instagram story. I had a DVD recorder literally sitting on a shelf for over a year. Like there was dust on it. It was all crazy. And I only paid $20. Listed it, sold within 8 hours for $160 something plus shipping. Okay. Then I had a receiver sitting on my shelf for over an hour and a half. Paid, I believe, $18 with my teacher discount at the store that shall not be named. And sold within 3 days for about $127. Here's the other crazy one. I had this thing called, there was a Foster X86 mixer recorder or something. Like from the 80s, like you put a tape in there, and I guess you like modify the sound. I don't know. I'm not an audiophile, but I was about to toss this. Now, this was an item that I got from my reseller friend. So if he's listening to this, I'm sorry, Jesus. You know what I'm talking about. That, he got out of reselling. And so, he gave me a ton of stuff. I mean, I paid, but, a lot of it was just kind of like, hey, just take it all. Mm-hmm. And I got it. And I hadn't touched this item since I think I picked it up in January from him. I go home. I'm like, I'm going to list this. I test it and it's not working right. Like the moment I press power, the tape's already going, but there's no tape in there. So I'm like, oh no. And then I try to fix it and I remove the cover and I chip off a part of the cover until the tape cover won't. So this is a tape deck that opens up, right? I'm trying to describe this in the podcast. There you go. Okay. So I'm like, all right. Well, I go and I see on eBay on the comps, like people are selling it for used parts, not working for about $30 to $50. I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I'm just going to list this high. So I take pictures. I show where, it's broken. I actually see in the description, like tape deck starts working as soon as you power on. Don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. sells within 48 hours for $85 plus shipping.
Nice.
So I'm like, what? Okay. So maybe I'm going to have to retract my comment of I'm not going to pick up these items again.
Yeah, once you get the sweet taste of the moolah that it brings in.
I'm serious. And now I look and I still have like 2 other stacks of this stuff that I haven't listed. And I'm like, it was worth it. It was heinous having to bring it in from my storage unit, having to connect everything and all that stuff. But if I think about the time I spent probably, let's say at the most 30 minutes per item to at the least make $100 net profit. Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Can't beat that. So there's that. And then I'm building eBay right now like there's no other. Like I've never worked so hard to build eBay. I had been mentioning this. I'm stocking up for Q5. I've been doing a lot of retail arbitrage for Q5. A lot of it has been Q5, Q4. A lot of this has been because of Amazon. I had to pull all these items and I had all kinds of apparel. And I finally, you know me, like how long did I have an inkjet printer until I finally like went to laser, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't even buy one. Like Eric, the college picker, had to ship me one for free.
And you're still not really using your thermal printer very much. Is that the case?
My Dymo?
Yeah. Not
for labels, not for like shipping labels. I don't think I can.
What?
Or maybe I can.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make the small little labels for it. Okay. So I'm not doing that, but I finally splurged and I bought a mega light box. Like the mega ones, like the 7 foot, like tall, 5 foot wide to do apparel. And, you know, I was really inspired. I was watching Ashley Hustle at Home Mom that she got one about 2 months ago. And I DM'd her and I'm like, listen, is it really that big of a deal? Like, was it a game changer? She's like, oh yeah, I completely, because she already had great pictures. And if you've seen my posts on Instagram, so as a result of the pandemic, I haven't had my helper. And she's had my backdrop and my lighting equipment. So I've been taking, literally, I go to the dollar store and I buy a vinyl table cover and I tape it to a wall. And I get my house, like, or torche lamps. What do you call those?
I don't know.
I mean, it's ghetto. And I set it up. And, you know, with my mannequin, I take pictures. And if you see some of my Instagram posts, you're like, these are terrible. Like,
even if you do the remove background?
I haven't done remove background. It's just too much time to do remove background.
But you could just turn any of those into like beautiful pictures.
I could.
You wouldn't need the light box.
Stuff still sells anyways, so I'm not inclined to do that. Now, I wanted to get better pictures because I feel like I could have more velocity. Like things could look better, and obviously it's going to come out better, especially now that a lot of people have gone to dark mode on their phones for eBay. And so I decided just finally to go all in, and it was about $300 from B&H Photo. We actually have a link below. Yeah. So I'm hoping it's an affiliate link. I applied to do an affiliate link, to help us out, but they haven't gotten back to us yet. So we'll see. They're old school. Like they want to know where we're going to put our website banner. And, we have a website. We do have PureHustlePodcast.com.
Do we?
Yeah, we do.
Are we still?
I bought it. We bought it in the early days because I was like, I never want to end up like if we have a following.
We have the domain name, but do we actually have like an active live website?
No. Actually, I did attempt it. We got a Weebly or something. I think that's what it called. I started sending it up and I'm like, nah, like we're not gonna do this. But maybe we'll
get into the 21st century and actually get our website going.
But I don't know if websites are 21st century.
Yeah,
like what right now with social media and everything going on, like you think about how much you can do with like Linktree and Now Walmart, it bought TikTok, and Walmart's putting links in TikTok to get to their merchandise via their e-commerce platform. Like, I don't know.
Is that the case? Walmart bought TikTok?
That's what the latest discussion is. Huh. I don't think it's fully sealed yet, but because people were thinking like Walmart, like why wouldn't Walmart? But part of it is
it's advertisement. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trying to get into the e-commerce game. So I say that's why we haven't done a website, because we've been able to function without it. Like before, it was like, hey, if you wanted to sell shirts, we'd need a website, right? But now you just go to our Linktree and you could buy it off of eBay and we're good, All right. All that being said, it cost $300. And I had to think about like $300 isn't a lot. If I think about if this is going to increase sales, I'm going to make that money back and it's going to pay the cost. And I've had, it's been a good 3-4 months. So I decided to splurge. Mike, game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer. Multiple levels. One, you ever get that lull when you're reselling? You know about this. You talk about this. Like, I don't want to, like, I don't want to list this.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to take pictures. I don't want to do this. But now I'm like, I have this awesome light box.
Is it just because it's the shiny new toy? Do you think it'll wear off?
It is. It probably will. But for now, so I took pictures of like over 100 items in one day.
Nice.
Right. And I just flew because it was easy. It was easy. Like it's already set up. The mannequins are already inside. I don't have to move anything around. Like it's good to go. And the lighting's good. Back in the day, I used to use, I think it was on Google Chrome. It was called Picasa to like update my photos and do the light. None of that. Like I don't even do that now. That's why my pictures are like, but these are crisp. They're clean. Some of them I didn't do so great a job. Like I should have adjusted on the iPhone, like the brightness level when I took it, but it's okay. And on top of that, I can now list big items really easily. So the other day when I was garage selling, I picked up a ab circle, I think it was.
Oh, right.
Right. And it's a bigger item and it would have been heinous like to take pictures, or even that Indo board. I don't know if you've seen those Indo boards, like they look like a mini surfboard and whatever. Easy. It's so huge. Like, so now I have this huge bear that I bought at the store that shall not be named for like $100. Literally, it's about 6 foot tall and wide, and something that's like man cave-ish kind of deal.
Like a Costco bear, like one of those big old.
No, it's not
bears.
A plush. It's not a plush. It's like a
stuffed, almost looking like.
Yeah,
nice.
It's massive, and he's like fishing and all this. But
that's cool.
I never listed on eBay. I actually took pictures within the store that shall not be named, listed it local, and no movement on it. Right now, I know I can ship pretty much anything. Like I'm not scared to ship this thing if it sells. And now I have this light box. I'm just going to put in the light box, take pictures of it, and I'll keep you guys updated if it sells. But I think it's going to be the game changer. So
I just want to see like you do this with your window open and your neighbor walk by your house with you with this giant bear inside of a light box and you're taking pictures of. They'd be like, what is this guy doing?
Well, you have to remember, I live in a condo, right? Yeah. So this is taking up major space. Like I have a tread climber right next to it, like literally right up to it. And it's, it's life, but it's part of my long-term plan to eventually move. And so I needed a scale to have enough capital to eventually get a bigger space.
I like it.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. How about you? You kind of worried me a little bit. You touched this out. We good?
Yeah. I'm gonna do something in a little bit with it, but don't worry. Okay. So yeah, for me, I'm back at school. The last couple of weeks, we've been doing like all of our teacher in service, kind of prepping for distance learning. I'm in California, San Diego. We're still doing the distance thing where we're at our district, and so my time has been completely consumed by like my full-time job, my what would be considered like my real job, I guess. So
your career,
my career, and so I've had a hard time as far as actually like getting like into the routine and getting back into like, all right, now I can go sourcing, now I can go do this. And I think once I get the routine settled, I think things will be better. But the nice thing is me going back and working now, because when it was just me, my wife and my son all summer long, we just wanted to spend time together. We just wanted to hang out. The idea of working when we didn't need to, especially because this is our first summer of her staying home since we moved into the fifth wheel and all of that. Like it's been a great summer, but now that I'm back, my wife is starting to get back into like her routine, right? Of before, when I was in school, she would come to our office, she would take pictures of items, she'd get items listed, she'd take care of the shipping, and I would do a lot of the sourcing and I'd help her with shipping and things like that. And I'd list certain items. And now that I'm back, she's getting back into her routine and we're starting to see our store go back up in our inventory, which has been really nice. And one of the things that I noticed that was kind of, I guess this would be, I don't know if it's really a random story, but just something that's interesting is as we're listing these death pile items that we have. And, I've got good items. I know how to shop for decent things that are going to, get good money. But a lot of the things that I've been picking up over the last year or two are also really good things, but they just have been stagnant. They haven't really moved. But a lot of these new things, it's like not too long after posting these new things, a lot of the new things are what's selling. And so it just reminds me and kind of reaffirms the idea that I need to go back through a lot of my old listings. And I don't know what it will be that exactly triggers the algorithm. I don't know if it's just dropping the price a little bit to get a little bit of movement on it, or if it'd be worthwhile taking items completely down, bringing them back up, right? Because now it'll help with my overall store's like click-through rate or sell-through rate. Because if I've had an item that's had a lot of views and it hasn't sold, and that's bringing down my numbers for my store as far as how many customers or potential customers are looking at my items but not buying. Whereas if I can get rid of some of those items that have been up for 6 months to a year, repost them, and then get fresh eyes on them, that might help just overall with however the algorithm works. And I think the conversation we had with Chris, the daily refinement, was really good with the idea of, we as just shoppers, are going to go to the stores where we get the best deals. And if we're consistently getting good deals at certain stores, those are going to be the first on our route. And the same thing is true for eBay, right? Like eBay is going to push their customers to the stores that have the best sell-through rate. They're not going to spend the time and energy advertising for stores that don't have very good sell-through rate, because then they have to pay for that advertisement. I mean, we do through promoted listings, but if you're paying for promoted listings and they're putting your advertisement up on stuff and things haven't sold, they're going to pick the person whose stuff is selling. So it might be worthwhile to adjust my store numbers by, I don't know whether it's completely unlisting things and relisting them, maybe different price, maybe, same everything, keep the pictures the same. Or if it's, hey, I'm just going to drop the price, maybe $1 or $2 or 5% on each item. And if that's enough to trigger that algorithm, I don't know what it's going to be exactly, but it's just shocking that I will list something and then within a day or two it sells. And it's like, wait a minute, we have a lot of similar things that have been sitting for a long time and haven't sold. So I think I need to get some more movement and traffic going there, because it's been nice having these sales, but it's also kind of, just odd that it's like, I get that these are the things selling because they're new and fresh, but so are the pair of shoes that have been up for, 9 months. Like, why did this pair sell and not this one? So yeah, I don't know what the best option is. Maybe you can, give me a little bit of some insight there.
So I do you have more update though? Like this is, we're going to go into random stories with what you're just sharing right now, which is piggybacking what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, for the most part, that's what I've got.
Okay. So it's interesting you say that, because I've been thinking this through too. We had Angela, the short stack seller, talking about in the Mega Hustle of the Week episode how she had an item and she adjusted her price from 99 cents to 97 cents, like at the end, right? And it triggered sales. And the other day, I'm going to give insight through a story. The other day, it was early in the morning and I was sending out offers. I don't know why I was sending out offers at 4:30 in the morning. Like I got up and I'm like, oh, I should just send some offers. And I sent out an offer for $3 for a pair of shoes. I didn't know that. And like around,
even though you have to hit confirm, you put in the price and then you have to hit again.
It's 4:30 in the morning. I don't wake up till like, it depends. If my kids have school 6:30, most of the time it's like 9 o'clock, right? I don't know. It is scary what you do when you're half awake, because sometimes you don't remember.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't work when you're that tired.
No, don't. So I sent the offer, and I remember I hear the cha-ching, and when you hear the ching, you're always like, yes, like another sale. And I look, and I was like, oh, I sold something. I didn't look at how much. Then when the payment received came in, it was like $10.33. I'm like, what? What I was shipping was $7.33, but they paid $3. And I look, and it was a pair of workout shoes that I had listed for, I believe, like $59.99. And usually I list, when I send offers, it's about $5 off, pretty much. So then I'm like, I wonder what to do now. Like, do I cancel this? But if you cancel, you have this, I hate canceling orders. Hate it. It's such a heinous problem. I wish eBay had an option in a drop-down menu to say, eBay glitch, or you could say, chose not to. I wish we had more freedom. Like, I wish we had the option to give us like 3 a month, or if like, for a reason we can't find it, or whatever reason, we think it's because I've had plenty lately where something sold on eBay and it showed up again as active. And I'm not, I think 99% of the time it's operator error. I must have somehow relisted it, but I don't know why that happens. I wish I had that option, but you don't. So I decided not to cancel the order because I'm like, whatever. I paid $6 for the shoes. I'm going to lose $3, but maybe this will trigger the algorithm. Sure enough, within half hour, sale after sale after sale. And I think that day I ended up with like $700 to $800 in sales, which, that's a good day, right? That's good. At least for me, it's a good. I know for some people, it's like, oh, that's chump change, Rolando. But for me, it's a good day. On average, I try to, at the very least, have $200 in sales. I always like hitting 300 to 400, but I don't look at the daily. I look at the weekly. But lately, I pretty much accept, I shouldn't say this because then people are going to try to buy stuff in my store for cheap. But if things are slow, I will take as long as it's, above 50%, I'll take a lower best offer. Like today, I had somebody offer me, I think $34 on a pair of Ferragamos. And, I kind of regretted sourcing these two. They were kind of messed up and I listed them high. And so I accepted it. And sure enough, within, a half hour, I sold another pair of shoes. Right. And again, we don't know, right? This is all speculation, but I 100% agree with you. I think the data is there that when you have consistent sell-through rate, like you're selling stuff all the time, like you are going to do pretty well. Right. And with somebody the Posh Hanger, Monica, the Posh Hanger, there was a Q&A she did on Instagram and somebody asked her, like, do you ever counter offer? And she said she pretty much accepts everything that comes at her. Mm. And if you follow her on Instagram, she has crazy, like she makes mad amounts of money. And it all, ROI and all that is important, but her sell-through rate's through the roof, right? Mm. Cindy Amazing Taste is the same way. She prices her items in a way that she has a huge sell-through rate. So for me, it's if these individuals that are making all kinds of sales are saying, hey, sell-through rate consistently. And again, I know that I've been selling for a long time, but there was a long time that I didn't believe in the sell-through rate. But I would say in the last year, I've been doing really well because of the sell-through rate. And part of that, I'll give you one more thing, is I have been listing lower price items lately. Hmm. So not saying that I'm sourcing them. Like what I mean is I'll do a bulk buy and I'll have like 20 like little train, carriages that sell for only $10, but I'll list them all because I find that, people are more likely to spend $10 instead of $100 and they'll buy it. And sure enough, within an hour, I'll get another sale. So I think it's a good mix. So that's my thoughts on sell-through rate.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I think that's good as far as like that answers the question of sending offers and accepting offers. But even just with like stagnant items, like, I don't know what's better to take an item completely down and relist it. Did I not
answer your question at all?
Not really. To take an item down and relist it or to just drop the price a little. Like what's the best there?
It's a tough one. Now I will answer your question now. I feel bad. That was so bad.
No, it's good.
That was politician status right there. But I wasn't trying to be a politician. I was actually trying to answer your question. So here's the thing. If you do the sell similar, if you end your listing sell similar, you lose your Google ranking, right? And then you lose all the watchers that you had on that item, right? So there's that. Now, Fresh Eyes will be on it. So maybe it'll play that part in the algorithm. I personally think the better option is to either promote your listing or work on your prices or put it at auction. I think those are your three. I actually almost got to this place where I was going to get all my items I haven't sold in a long time and put them all at auction. Mm. Just so, because I know some individuals that they run auctions every week and it helps them their sell-through rate. Hmm. So that's another thing. Even I'm not saying break even, but even if you make like $2 or $3 on each item.
So would you set your auction starting price at like the lowest you'd be willing to accept? Or
Correct.
Would you go a little lower than that? Just to get the...
It's where you feel, it's where you feel comfortable with. For me, I would put probably a few bucks over what I paid to source it. Because it's been so long, like you want to get that cash flow going.
Right.
Right. And at the same time, it will definitely help your sell-through rate. And it's going to motivate you. Right. We're all Pavlov dogs, right? With the cha-ching.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. Yeah. If you got money tied up in inventory, that's the thing too, is like we talked about, even with the idea of assets, when we were talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the idea of inventory being an asset. Well, and I don't remember the exact, specifications of and qualifications for each term, but there's a certain like inventory in a store does count as a certain type of asset as long as it sells within a certain amount of time. If it's inventory that sits for years and years and years, it no longer counts as that same kind of asset. It goes into a different category. And so, yeah, you've got money, you've got capital tied up in inventory, which the idea is to increase, right? Buy low, sell high. Now you have more capital, you can buy more stuff or invest that in other parts of your business. But if you've got inventory that's been sitting for a long time, yeah, you might end up making the double, your profit or your initial investment, 2 years down the road. But that 2 years is a long time. And if you've got 100 items sitting like that, it might be worth it to break even on all of them, have that capital again, and then kind of start fresh with new sourcing a new item. So yeah, I think auction might be something I'll try for that. It might be a heinous day of shipping.
That's funny. I'm just thinking about that. And if I go down this road, like it will be. Because you will get sales. You will get sales. Matt Klein from Matt Klein Hustle, he actually did that one time. And he was amazed at the prices he got. Like the bids went up on certain things. But yeah, it was crazy. But he cleaned out a lot of his inventory and he had that cash flow going. So
that's good.
There you go. That. All right, random stories.
Yeah, I mean, like I kind of mentioned, that was kind of just my random story as far as my experience seeing certain items selling and others not selling.
It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah, it really is. And then like looking like just at like recent sales that I've had, when I went to that, wasn't really a garage sale, it was like a church rummage sale. And I picked up those hair dyeing kits. Right? Oh yeah. And I picked up 4 of them, both sets, and they're 2 different colors. So two boxes in each set. So I did it as 2 listings total 4 boxes and 2 listings. And they both sold within like hours of each other for, pretty good price. And so seeing that they went, which again, I mean, maybe this is like an added BOLO. I mean, obviously people have talked about, certain things, certain health products and things because of COVID and quarantine and people doing things on their own. If people can't go get their nails done, they can't go to salons, they can't go to barbershops, they can't go to, gyms, all of those things which have pushed certain BOLOs up. But yeah, I mean, specifically things like hair dye and, that type of stuff. We've had people on before where they've talked about, doing cosmetics and thinking, this might be the time if there are people not going out and going and shopping for certain things and they don't want to go to the stores. This could be even the retail arbitrage for you. Go to these stores, pick up these items when they're available and get them to people who don't want to leave their house, but they still want to get their cologne or they want to get their lotion or their hair dye or whatever it is. Especially things like if they're used to going to a salon to get something done and they can't. So maybe like facial creams, like masks and stuff like that might be a nice little BOLO there. But it was great because these boxes sold so quickly. I picked them up for probably 25 cents each and I sold them all 4 boxes total. I think I'll make like $40 net profit off of them. And, that's pretty good to for something that's so simple to ship, a couple pieces of bubble wrap around them, stick them in a mailer and send them off, So compared to some of the items that I have that are big and bulky and they're difficult to ship. So I'm more and more going to be changing the types of items I'm sourcing as much as possible to be picking up things that are easy to ship and hopefully move quickly. Even if the total profit that you make is a little bit less per item, the convenience of shipping and the space that it takes up is so much less that it's kind of worth it.
Yeah. And again, I shared this earlier in the podcast. I really find that when you start selling those cheaper items, out of nowhere, the home runs start selling too. Right. And so I 100% agree that the more you sell, the more likely algorithm's going to keep pushing more sales. And the more you got to list too, because eventually you have to have enough items that people are going in to buy. Right. And so, we get this message all the time. Like, hey, I'm not selling anything. And the first question I ask is how many items are in your store? And they're like, oh, I only have 50 or only have 200. And I'm like, well, think about if you go to a store and you're looking for a certain item. If that store only has 200 items and what you're looking for isn't there, you're going to move on. Right. And this is why I'm also a big believer in having a big inventory. And there's different models, right? There's some people that believe in having you sell through everything in a month. I'm more of the old school. I picked this up from Scavenger Life where they're big believers. The bigger the inventory you have, the more chances that stuff is going to sell. And then it allows for consistent sales because you have different buyers at different times going into your store. So just my thoughts. All right. I have one more story.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago, I went to a garage sale and I got there super early, which isn't the norm for me these days. Actually, I haven't gotten a lot of garage sales because it's been slim. It's still slim. Like yesterday I went sourcing and we're recording this on a Sunday and I picked up some good stuff, but it was until like the last stop. Right. So I always let everyone know, like, find other avenues to source, right? Because right now we're in a place where, at any time, like, what if we have ultimate lockdown again? I hope not ever again. Like I had to find a place to cut my son's hair that was doing haircuts outside. Like it was pretty cool. Like you go out there and there's like, people with they literally had like the chairs that you cut hair with outside. But, I'm hoping that, anyways, that doesn't relate to this, but it's, who would have thought? Yeah. Right. Who would have thought that I'd finally go, hey, there's a barber shop there. Okay, son, because he starts school here pretty soon. And anyways, I say all that because garage sales have been slim, so I decided to go early, and they said they had a lot of Harley stuff. And actually, this is due to one of our listeners, Tiz of All Trades, sent me a DM and said, hey, there's some Harley stuff. I'm like, maybe you want to check this out. And so I'm like, all right. So I showed up there 7:20 a.m. And it's one of those things where you're like, am I at the right house? Right? It didn't start till 8 o'clock. And they had a big dumpster in the front. So I'm like, oh no, like, was this something that already happened? And I showed up a week later. So I'm sitting there and I look at the pictures. I do the Google map, make sure I'm at the right location and I'm at the right place. So it's 7:20 in the morning, starts at 8 o'clock. No one shows up till about 7:35. And all these cars start showing up. So it's a big driveway. I'm like, oh no. Like I hate the Q4 anxiety feeling. Like, I'm gonna have to go in this house. I have to grab stuff and everything. And it's 7:50-ish. And then, everybody's in their car and like, who's gonna be the first one to go to the door? Right. Because as soon as somebody starts moving, everybody moves, right? So, I'm like, hey, I was here first. I'm getting out. So I get out, I go out there and we're all there. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like, I just don't. And this guy approaches me and he's like, hey, so what are you here for? Because we all know we're resellers. Like, no one shows up super early. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I don't tell people what I'm getting a source for. Like, why would I share that?
Yeah. That's when you like throw them off the scent and you're like, yeah, they've got all of these vintage games up they set on the second floor.
I didn't even think about that. That would have been
and then they go in and that's all they're looking for. It's like, where's the vintage games? And you're to go straight for the Harley stuff because that's what they're,
Yeah.
It's genius.
So
do that from now on.
So, but I noticed the guy meant business because he came in with a U-Haul rental truck.
Holy cow!
Right? No, okay, but it was just the 1999 truck, just the truck, the flatbed. But still, it meant business, right? So I said, whatever's there. I'm just looking, to get a good deal. And he's like, well, so you're not here for the safe? I'm like, no, I'm not here for the safe. Like that's too heinous. And he's like, okay, good. Cause I drove from LA and I'm here for the safe. And I'm like, okay,
man, that would have got my interest. I'd have been like, maybe I'm here for the safe.
He's going to make money on the safe. He's going to make probably $2-3 grand. For me, it's just not my thing. Like, it would have ended up I would have had a death pile of safes.
You could use it as like, you could store your expensive inventory inside the safe until it sells.
There you go. So, and maybe I need to get into the safe sourcing, maybe that's the next level.
Yeah, safe sourcing. Make sure to practice safe sourcing while you're out there.
Oh my goodness. Did we go there? Did we just go there? All right. Okay. All right. So the gal that's running the estate sale shows up and I love it because it was a private estate sale. It wasn't one but run by a company. Cause usually when it's a company, like prices always end up going up. She shows up and then she asks everybody, what are you here for? And I'm like, this is going to be interesting. But it was cool because one guy's like, hey, I'm here for coins. One guy said, hey, I'm here for the furniture. Somebody said the guy that said he's here for safes said he's here for safes. Somebody else said, hey, I'm interested in your Christmas stuff. I'm like, all right. Like, again, it's a reminder to me that whenever you're sourcing anywhere, you can't go in with the assumption that everybody's trying to get the exact same thing that you're getting and then give up and go, you know what? It's not worth it to me. Now, I did feel bad because I said, hey, I'm here for the Harley stuff. And she's like, oh, yeah, I have some in the living room. And I have stuff in the back. And then the guy behind me goes, yeah, I'm here for the Harley stuff too. And I automatically goes, I'm going to buy all your Harley gear. So I'm just going to buy it all out.
You said that?
I just said it out. Like, you just anchor. Like, don't come at me. Like, I'm buying all of it. Now, the sad thing was there wasn't a lot of stuff. So I walked in and she had a stack of shirts and the guy's right behind me. So I literally just went and just grabbed them all. Like, I didn't even look if they were Harley. I just grabbed them all. And then I went straight to the back and I could tell the guy was kind of annoyed. Like, but I'm like, dude, I was here 30 minutes before you, man. Like, it is what it is. Like, and so I grabbed the shirts. I grabbed the Harley bike seat, which, that's my new bolo now, like bike seats. And then I went to the back and there was like some kind of equipment, which has been nice because I've been understanding Harley parts more. And they go for good money. So I picked up now. I did miss out on one item. I did the normal like vulture, like, when somebody has something in their cart or whatever, and you're just like waiting to see if they're going to drop it. And eventually the guy put on it was the back end of, so on Harley bikes, you have like the backrest and those can go for money depending on the model. And I saw the guy had it in his hand and he put it on the side. And eventually I'm like, should I leave the estate sale? No, I'm going to wait because that's $100 right there. And eventually I go up to it and I look at it. I'm like, is this yours, man? He's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, oh, all right, bro. I just put it down and I left. But all that being said, everybody was able to get what they needed to get, right? There's enough of the pie for everybody.
Except for the guy who also wanted Harley.
He still scored some Harley pieces like somewhere else, and he scored some other items. And then, you get that whole like, why did he pick up that? Right? Did I miss out on something? You get this FOMO too, right? I share that story though. Again, there's plenty to go around. You never know what other sellers are trying to get, and you got to move quick. Like, you got to be on it. And if there's ever an opportunity where you have competition, you just say, I'm going to buy it all out, and you try to make a deal with the seller at that point in time. So then it removes everybody else from the equation, right? Now, you've seen garage sales where I've gotten into it with people. Like, people get after me on Instagram where like, Orlando, like, why did you, like, why are you trying to buy out? I'm like, well, because this is business. Like, this is business. So.
Business, and maybe you could say it in a way that is a little more real in the sense of it's your livelihood, right? True, like, it's not just like, hey, I'm just trying to make money, so that I can have my yacht, right? Like, I need to feed my kids.
Well, I got a question for people in the comments. So people come at me all the time in DMs about like when I haggle people for $1. And like, I've had people call me cheapskate, like, man, you have no integrity. I'm like, what? I didn't steal anything. Like, I went for the best deal, and they
can always say no.
Yeah, they could always say no. And if you think about it in business terms, if you're always willing to say, you know what, I'm going to be the better person. It's okay. I'll pay up for this. In time, that can add up to a lot of money.
Yeah. If you just averaged, because some items you're able to get an extra $20 off, right? You're buying something for $200 and you get $20 off. Some items you're only getting $1 off. But if you just average $1 per item and you consider how many items you're selling a year or buying a year, right? That's thousands of dollars.
And reinvesting that dollar into something else, right? Which could bring in more cash flow. So, interested in your comments. Is it an integrity thing or is it business? Let us know. I'm really interested in what people say.
Yeah. That's good. Let us know. Let us know in the comments below. I'd like to know what you think.
Oh, it's bad. People are not kind. That's all I'm going to say. But it does, whatever. Like, I'm so glad I was a school administrator because I've had everything thrown at me.
I think in my feeling on that, like on this, like, it goes the same way, like, because there's two sides of every bargain. There's two parties involved, right? There's the person selling, the person buying, typically, or offering a service and trying to acquire the service. And if you're really going to say that if you're on the side of the bargaining table that's trying to buy the item, that trying to get it for as cheap as possible is the wrong thing to do, then you'd also have to take that same consistent perspective on the other side of the table and say, hey, if somebody offers you money, like, hey, I'll give you $20 for this, then every time you need to say, you know what, I'll give it to you for 15.
That's true.
So like, or you go to the store, you go to Walmart and you say, hey, I know this shirt's only $10, but you know what? I think this is a good deal. I'd rather give you $11 for this shirt. Like, I don't think people do that. Like, people are looking for the best deal they can get. And so I think both sides, they have equal opportunity to make that decision on trying to get the best deal for them, and where they meet in the middle is where that deal happens. So,
well, and that's what happened. One more point in all this was that at the end, I had my huge bundle, right? And to me, one of the best ways to negotiate is with a bundle. And, she had made a comment at a certain point. She had said, well, I see all you guys out there with your phones. So what do you think is a fair price? In my head, I'm like, you have a cell phone in your hand. Like, you had the opportunity to research, right? But you chose not to. And I told her, I said, hey, listen, here's the deal. Like, fair price is whenever we both walk away happy, right? You feel like it was fair and I feel like it was fair, and we're good to go. And, I didn't want to give the number, and she played hardball. Like, she did not give the first number. I actually had to anchor this one, which I rarely do. And I just said $30. She's like, $30? I'm like, well, what do you think? And she's like, 45. And then I'm like, you know what? I can do 40. She's like, I don't know. Like, you guys can look stuff up and everything. I'm thinking in my head, like, there's nothing unjust happening here. Like, we had the equal playing field in both of these, right?
And knowledge is one of those tools you have at the bargaining table. And if one person is willing to get the knowledge and do the research and the other person isn't, yeah, like you said, they both have equal opportunity for that. And whoever comes in with the most knowledge and the most, they have. Now, again, we've mentioned this in way early podcasts. And so I think
we haven't talked about this in a long time.
But I think it's important to say, like, what we're not saying is go to an older person who's, maybe got dementia and they've got a car that's worth $50,000 and it's worth $50,000 and they really have no idea. And you're like, I'll give you $100 for your car. And you're trying to like scam people who are at an absolute disadvantage. That we would 100% say is wrong. Agreed. That's not okay. But in the car selling world, if the value that you can get for that car is $50,000, everybody's going to be trying to get that car for, can I get it for 35? Can I get it for 40? Make that $10,000 flip. And that's the kind of thing, because it might take me 10 months and a little bit of restoration to get the 50 for, like, there's a difference between this is what and I think a good way of thinking about it, and this is like the case for, people who are trained in CPR and those kinds of things, right? Like if you work with kids, like you have to have your CPR training. And one of the things you're taught is there's the Good Samaritan law, which is if it's something that a rational person would do, and you're not acting outside, even if you make a mistake, like it's okay. If it's like, if a jury of your peers would look at that and say like, yeah, a normal rational person would make a similar decision, then you're okay. You're protected. Now, if you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm going to hit your chest with a baseball bat as hard as I can to see if that helps you, that people would say, okay, that's not right. And I think the same thing applies for reselling. If every reseller who's out there is going to be trying to get this for a certain price point and it's within, 10% of each other, I think that's the fair price that resellers are willing to pay for, because they've got to do all the other work on the other side. Now, if you're trying to scam people out of stuff, that's a totally different story.
Yeah, agreed. I've always made the argument is, as long as you have a cell phone and you have the ability to research, it's an equal playing field for everybody. It really is, right? That individual had the opportunity. They could have gotten up earlier, showed up to their estate sale, and they could have researched items, but they chose not to, right? And so, I don't know, interested what people think below. Do you think that sometimes you can have an offer that is too low, right? I don't believe there is, because people can always say no, right? But I don't know. I'd be interested. All right. Ready to move forward?
Yeah.
All right. And before we move forward, though, we got to talk about social media real quick. So if you haven't been following us yet, definitely follow us. Hey, the best way to get a hold of us is through the DMs and Instagram. Facebook, I'm getting better about it. You know what? My goal this week is going to be to get to all the Facebook messages, even the ones from last year. I'm just going to because remember, the reason we didn't reply is we weren't getting notifications.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad. So hopefully you still listen to our podcast. You're not like, Orlando, why are you replying to me a year and a half later?
Yeah. So you got to remember, neither Orlando or I were using social media like at all.
It's true.
Before we did Pure Hustle Podcast. So this was all a learning experience for us. And
we're still learning.
Yeah. So,
but you can find us on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, and Facebook as Pure Hustle Podcast. We are on Twitter as Pure Hustle Cast. You can also watch us on YouTube if you like. You can subscribe to us and hit that bell notification. We are Pure Hustle Podcast. Give us a call if you want, 619-738-1170, 619-738-1170. We would love to take calls, Hustle of the Week or BOLO, whatever it is. And we'd love to share on the podcast if it fits into, everything we're talking about at 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. You could also email us at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. As always, thank you guys for the donations. We had talked about in the last podcast. We're still working through sponsors. We kind of lost one. So donations always help us out, and buying shirts helps us out. And as always, one of the best ways to help us out is reviews on iTunes.
Yeah. I almost feel like we're kind of doing like a fun drive at the moment, but like realistically, like all of the help you can give us, that we've received in the past, people purchasing shirts, the people who give us donations has been huge, especially now because we had a hit on sponsorship. But even if you can't, if you're like, you know what, like I'm struggling to make ends meet, we're the first ones to say, hey, go back, listen to our level up reviews on, Dave Ramsey and on Rich Dad Poor Dad and Richest Man in Babylon, and figure out how to get your finances set. Like, don't give away money you don't have. But if that's your situation, like just leaving us a review in iTunes is so big. It makes such a big impact on people being able to find our content. So we really, really appreciate all of you who've taken the time to do that.
Yeah. So again, our content always 100% free. And the reason we do that is because, hey, a lot of people that get into reselling, it's because they need to make ends meet, right? Or they need to take care of a situation, or they lost a job. So that's why we're always free. And so when we ask, we're never asking to continue the podcast, because we're going to continue regardless, but we'd love your help. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, we are ready, because even though I have no idea what's happening in the reselling world, Orlando does, and he is going to educate me on the things that matter the most. Take it away, Orlando.
You know, it's scary when you say I'm going to educate you, because I always say this. I could be wrong. Like I just bought a set of buckles the other day, and I thought I was going to make a lot of money on them. And I think I'm still going to make money, but not what I thought. And I did an Instagram story, and I was very careful saying, hey, these could be Repop souvenir buckles, or they could be antique ones. And right now I'm kind of, I don't know, on some of them. Right. So always research what I share. Because now, not that we have fake news.
No.
Or reseller topics.
We are news that you can trust.
Your most trusted news source,
That's
PHP.
Right. Yeah. Bringing you all things reselling related.
All right. Hey, managed payments.
Yeah.
How you feeling about managed payments?
I don't know. I mean, you know, obviously there's some of the interesting things, like just trying to get familiar with like what it really means when we're getting new alerts, right? Like the first time we got the alert of like the funds are being held, like when we did the refund, and then like there was like as if like we had a pending refund, but we'd already did the refund, and it was like super confusing. Like, wait a minute, like it's saying like until this is resolved, but we've already refunded the buyer. Like why? Like I'm not sure what's happening here, and it was kind of just confusing for us. But I'm still trying to figure out how much fees we're actually paying, because there's been a few items, and I need to actually sit down and go through and update my spreadsheet and figure out how much fees they're taking out. I haven't done that in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. But just what I'm seeing, and I could be wrong, but just what I'm seeing, like I feel like I'm paying more in fees now, like total per item, or at least on certain items, than I was in the past before managed payments. And I could be totally off here. I might end up paying the same. Orlando and I, before the podcast started, we tried to do like some math on a couple of them, and they all came out under the 13%. But there's a few where I'm looking at and I'm like, I feel like I'm paying like 15% on this item.
So let me explain the 13% though.
Yeah, sure.
Right. The 10%. So before managed payments, right? And some of you, it's funny because we're all technically supposed to be on managed payments, but somehow we're not, which is another interesting scenario. It was usually 10% eBay fee and 2.9% PayPal fee, right? So that's where we got the 13% from, right? And what you're saying is that we may be paying more now on certain things. That's your feeling. That's what you're possibly seeing.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. And again, like I'm not saying that this is absolutely what's happening. Yeah. I need to actually sit down and do the math on all of my items. But there's been at least 2 items, like 2 big sales I've had so far that I've like looked at, and I just did the math in my head, and I was like, this just seems off. So I need to like actually figure it out. So maybe let us know in the comments below. Do you feel like you have more money in your pocket now after managed payments, or do you feel like eBay's taking a little bit more? I mean, I think that's just a good thing, because I remember one of the things you were excited about for managed payments was getting rid of PayPal's, what you were considering stealing, where if there was a refund, you weren't getting that like 2.9% back to you. So to me though, my thought is, if I'm actually paying more over like every sale, even if it's a fraction of a percent more, am I paying more and losing more money in the long run than the occasional 2.9% on a refunded item that only occasionally happens?
No, I see what you're saying. And I ran the numbers with Mike, and from everything I saw, it was less than PayPal. It was, and some items is actually far less. Like it was actually like 9%. It depends. You have to look at it. You have to go, what category is your item in, right? And you have to remember shipping plays a part, right? That's one of the reasons I don't like posting that 90-day total, because that 90-day total on eBay includes your shipping, right? So somebody can have like an outstanding like 90-day total, but like a third of that could be shipping cost, right?
Yeah,
depending
shipping
on
and cost of goods, right? Like your actual return on each item, the profit off each item might be, significantly smaller. So you might sell items for $100 every day, all day long, but you're making $1 per sale.
Yeah, I know. So, but the number itself doesn't include the cost of goods, but I see what you're saying with the ROI part. But the number itself is just, it includes shipping on there, right? And so that could be misleading. Like even if you look at that chart with the bar graphs, right, it shows how much you sold on this day and this day and this day, that includes shipping in that number, right? And so when you do managed payments, you have to include the shipping on there. And so eBay takes the 30 cents per transaction, which, you know, I don't know if they're ever going to do away, but I think the higher tier store you have, I think that should go away.
I mean, you're already paying to list it, or you're paying for essentially the listing with your store, and then you pay for the final
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if you have,
then you pay for the fee.
Yeah, maybe if you have an enterprise store, it's gone. I have to look at it. So, but on Amazon, I know once you pay the $40 pro seller account, like that 99 cents that you charge per item goes away.
So when you're doing the math for the percentages, were you adding that 30 cents in? Because if you're selling smaller items, because that might incentivize selling, you know, higher price items, because 30 cents on a $100 sale is significantly less of a hit than 30 cents on a $10 sale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I have been, and it's, to me, the math has been great, like on all of it, and the better. The part where people get confused in is if you do promoted listings. Like sometimes you got to be careful promoted listings. Like if you said, hey, put it at the ad rate that, you know, what's the norm? Like you could have some stuff that's like a 9%. You could have stuff that's higher than that, and you could be losing a lot of money. I think it was last October, like I thought I was making all this money, but I wasn't, because I was losing a lot of money in promoted sales, because I kept putting everything a percentage above the suggested ad rates.
Ooh, no way.
That was terrible.
I've just stayed at 2% on everything.
No, I'm 2% across the board now too. The other thing is if you ship FedEx, you do not get charged for FedEx until the end of the month, right? And a lot of people are like, man, my fees were like crazy at the end of the month. And I'm like, hey, did you ship FedEx? And they're like, oh yeah, I did. And they're looking like, oh, that's what it was, right? So take a look. I will say it's a lot easier to look at the numbers than it was before. I like the report. It's very easy to, you know, kind of take a look, where before it felt like it was a jumbled mess. I still wish that they just did it all in one thing. Like when you go to your PayPal, like before you could go to like your PayPal transaction and it would tell you everything. I wish eBay, when you went to your sale, within the sale, it would just say, here's what eBay took. Here's what your promoted listings was. Here's what, instead of having to search through a whole bunch of different line items. But you know, that's for that. Now, on the good side, managed payments is being consistent now. So I think there was this weird, like, hey, it's going to take 3 to 4 days to get your money. So now if it says on Monday, you're going to get your money on Tuesday, I get it on Tuesday. The only gap there is now for me is the weekend. So if it says I'm going to get something, you know, hey, we're going to pay you out and it's Friday, you don't see that money till Monday. But it's been consistent, right? Where I think the first go round, it was like 3 or 4 days. And I was like, ooh, that's rough. So take a look at that. Now, here's the other thing, and I don't know how many people are aware. Have you been getting the little pop-up on your app, like item specifics required?
Yes.
Have you been dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit frustrating. I mean, we talked about this, I feel, a couple of episodes ago. Like, there's certain things where it's like, I know that I'm doing this for eBay. I'm not doing it for me. Because do I think it might help optimize the listing to a small degree? Maybe. But if I've got in my title that this is a red pair of shoes, right? I know most people, if they're looking up the things, like they're gonna find it, and it should be able to. The algorithm should be strong enough to be able to pull it up just by the title, right? Like if someone's like red Birkenstocks, that if it doesn't say red in the item specifics, like it should still come up if that's what you have in your title, right? Like, and so there's a lot of items that I have that are like that, where, you know, like maybe a mug that I'm selling and it wants to know the brand and it wants to know this, and it's like manufacturer year, and some of those aren't like required, but some things are required, and it's like, I don't think this is going to affect people buying my stuff, but I have to now go spend the time to pull this out of a tote and look it up and like, all right, what is this, and try and find all these item specifics that I don't know if I feel like it's my prerogative. If it's like, if I don't want to put that thing, I shouldn't have to put it there. But I get that it's going to help eBay's system be better and them to be able to have better reporting, because that's probably really what they want to be able to do, is be able to pull up a report to say, you know, can we see trends? Like how many red shoes have sold over these months, and which months do these, and what about these brands and these sizes? And so it's probably harder for them to pull that kind of data and reports if the information is only in like description or the title, but it's like, why do I have to do the work for that?
Well, I think it's helpful, and this is what I'll say. So when you go to Amazon, right, you're trying to find like an item, right, and it's a shirt, whatever. Now they do have like the categories on the left side, but they're not as specific as they are on eBay. And this is just super anecdotal. There's no data. This is just my experience, but I've had a lot of apparel that had been sitting on Amazon's rankings for over a year, and they're selling on eBay. Now, it could be because, they're new and it's pushed up on the algorithm. But I do believe part of it has to do with the fact that when you search stuff on Amazon, you just put in the search bar and there's only so many options on the left. I think on eBay, I think people are more prone to like choose the size that they want, whether they want it new or used, what kind of shipping, if it's an electronic, what kind of wiring do they have, what kind of brand, all those specifics. Excuse me. Wow. This poor mic just got bathed in.
Oh, as long as it didn't get me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
We should have a plexiglass shield in between us.
Maybe we should. All right. So, but I say all that because I do think it's helpful. Now, I'm not just sharing this reseller topic to just go like, hey, this is what eBay is doing. So eBay did release a tool, and I shared this about a few months ago when I had the major issue when I was trying to change my handling and it wouldn't let me do it because I had to fix item specifics. And one tool they offered me, which now they've offered to everybody, is this thing called OptiSeller. So if you go to the eBay community seller page, right, there's announcements. There's this thing called OptiSeller, and it's pretty nice. I think it's going to help you streamline this, and eBay is giving this for free until the end of December. So basically what OptiSeller is you go there and you run this report. Now, when you run this report, I'm trying to run it real quick here to give you more of an idea of what it looks like. When you run this report, there's going to be this thing called Aspect Finder when you get to OptiSeller. Now, you're going to have to do this login. It's going to log in your store. And when you go to it, you're going to be able to run a report. And what the report will do is it'll tell you which items do you have that are required item specifics, which items are ones that are recommended, and there's a few other options that are on there. And what it does, it puts it all on one page, right? So it tells you required soon, preferred, optional. And so right now I have about 14 items. So when you click on the categories, it'll give you every single item that's in that category, and it has like these boxes. And so in that, let's say it's cameras, right? And you have like 10 cameras. It'll put all those 10 cameras on that page, and it'll tell you which ones are, you don't need to do any actions, which one of those you're missing item specifics, which ones are the ones that are required. And you can just do it all on that one sheet and you're done.
Yeah, but some of the ones that are required is like battery type.
No, I know.
Right? Like, really? I have to open it up and figure out what kind of battery type it is?
But sometimes they on the app, I know it'll fill it. It'll give you options on the app sometimes, right? And you actually can get away with putting in your own. And you just hit like on the app.
NA.
Yeah, no, you could. And you just hit the plus and it'll add it and that's it. Because what eBay is doing too, which I like, is they're actually asking sellers like what is a good item specific. So for example, there might be a style that's not on there. And if enough sellers put that style in, it becomes part of the template. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, hey, check out OptiSeller. It's free. I used it back in the day. It really helped a lot. It is a learning curve, but once you figure it out, it's pretty easy because you can take care of a bunch of items on one page instead of like on the app. You have to go one by one by one by one, and it gets pretty, it gets pretty tedious right now. So like yesterday, I did two. So right now I'm showing Mike that there's 2 for video games, right? But it's right there, and it's telling me, all right, required soon. So I just have to make sure those purple ones get filled out, and I'm good to go. And then at the bottom, I put
color. Really? Yeah. Color of the video game.
Well, no,
you need that.
Yeah, but that's not required though.
It's preferred.
Is it preferred on here?
Yeah.
It is preferred. Yeah,
that's silly.
Okay, all right. Okay, I know, but it's preferred, right? So that's your choice, right? And then you go revise on eBay, and then it'll take care of it. You don't have to do anything else.
It's a gray cartridge for the video game. It's a. What do you do for a PlayStation game, right? That's like a CD. And do you describe the color of the top of it? Do you describe the color of the case? Like, what do you describe? I mean, I get that one's preferred, but some of the things that are required, like, and again, I do think that the more filters you have, I'm just thinking cost benefit analysis. And maybe I'm totally off on this, but maybe it increases my chance of getting a sale on an item by 1%, but the amount of time and energy that I'm gonna have to take to do all of these, is it worth it? I don't know.
No, I hear you. So OptiSeller, check it out. Go to the eBay community seller page.
Yeah.
Their announcements.
Use it. I mean, it's cool. I mean, if they're giving you a program that'll help make it easier,
and it's free.
I'm all for that.
It's free till it's $40 after that. So
use it now. Get all your stuff done now.
All right. Hey, so it's almost Q4. So Amazon has put out their holiday selling requirements in toys and games. And so I just wanted to touch on this because we get a lot of questions about this. So I think if there's ever a time to do merchant fulfilled, it's going to be this Q4, right? I'm a big FBA guy. And actually, I did this last year to do merchant fulfilled, and then I never did it. But the reason I'm going to do it now is because supply chains were broken back in, March, April, May, so much so that they were only willing to do FBA for essential items. I don't believe it's going to get that bad, but you never know, right? So it's always good to have that option in your back pocket. So what this means is, not that you can't sell FBA. This is only merchant fulfilled, right? As long as you're ungated, you can send anything into FBA right now, right? This is merchant fulfilled. So your first sale on Amazon must be prior to September 1st and does not need to be specific to toys and games. So make sure you get that, right? It could be anything. So right now I have stuff that I've done merchant fulfilled that are more like school related, but it counts under this. So it works out. So I strongly suggest that you find something that is lower price that will sell faster because of the ranking, and you can get this done really quick. You must have processed and shipped at least 25 seller fulfilled orders from August 15 to October 14. Okay, so here's the thing though. Make sure it is something that is drama free, because what I've had happen, and actually right now I've been talking with College Picker, and we both have A to Z claims on an item. A to Z claims is not something you want on Amazon. And if you're not selling a lot of merchant fulfilled, right, your ratio is worse. And you can't have above a 1% of a negative A to Z claim. So both of ours have been, I've had mine under appeal for about 2 months. What happened with mine is I sold something and I shipped it from Wisconsin. And to do a return, you have to ship it to me in California because that's where I live. But the person, instead of shipping it back to me in California, they instead refused the package with the post office and then ended up shipping back to Wisconsin. So I didn't know I had it and I couldn't do the return, right? But right now Amazon is, it's there. Like I can't do anything about it. So what I'm saying is make sure it's drama free. Make sure it's something that you're sending from where you're at and that your return address goes back to you. Make sure everything is up to par. And so you have that option. Right. And the other thing is make sure that you don't cancel any of your orders. Make sure that you ship on time. Basically all good things, but you want to have this option available. So again, this is only for seller fulfilled. I think it's going to be very important this Q4, especially if you want to do Amazon.
I like it.
All right. And then this last one, which I don't think it's terrible news, but we need to address it. So USPS, I was wrong. I posted something on Instagram that said, I don't think this is going to apply directly to us. eBay sellers, I think it's going to apply to high volume, but I think it's going to apply to everybody. Is USPS is raising their prices from October 18th through December 25th during the holiday.
Yeah, I'm sure part of it is the holiday packages too. And then the increased demand that the post office is going to be having in, specifically the months of October.
Which is a good sign, right? If the post office believes it's going to happen, chances are likely it's going to happen.
As far as Q4?
Yeah.
Like a big Q4. Yeah, no, for sure. And then the other aspect of that is, I think the reason maybe they're starting in October is the whole talk of, mail-in voting and all of that. And so there's going to be an increased demand on the post office, not just with a high Q4, inventory moving through the post office is going to be intense, especially because fewer and fewer people are going to retail stores and buying stuff and they're getting stuff online. But then also if the post office is dealing with an influx of, mail-in ballots and all of these things, it's going to put a strain on the post office system. And so it only makes sense that they're charging a little bit more to actually make sure they have the staff and all the things they need to make that happen. And I would hope, I guess here's my thing. I'm okay with during that increased volume of activity going to the post office, paying more for shipping if that guarantees that things are going to be getting to where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be getting there, and things aren't getting lost because they have the increased money allows them to have the employees they need, the staffing, the tools they need to get our shipments. But if we're dealing with, Q4 shipments and we're paying more for it and we're dealing with even more problems, like right now we're having problems, right? Stuff's getting lost. It's
gotten better though.
And it has gotten better. But imagine if we're going through that again, what we were going through last month, intensified, and we're paying more for that. I think that would be hard to swallow.
So what I wanted to share too is Mike is saying, and we're paying more for that, right? So real quick, let me go through the rates. So first class packages are going to go up 25 cents. Priority mail, 40 cents. Parcel. I didn't want to say parcel. I had to catch myself.
Parcel. I like how you changed your whole tonal.
I had to because I'm so used to saying parcel.
Register to parcel.
Select ground, like buttons and buttons. I have to, think about it. 40 cents a package. And if you do Priority Mail Express, $1.50 a package. But here's the thing. You don't have to pay that, right? You can raise the prices in your shipping, or you can raise the prices on your goods, or you can add shipping and handling fee to your items. Now, all these things obviously may affect your sell-through rate, right? I'm not going to change my shipping prices. And this is my rationale behind that. I believe it's going to give me more of a competitive edge, right? If somebody can get...
You just eat that cost. That extra 25 cents or 40 cents or whatever.
Yeah, if it's going to bring me more sales and bring me more money in, I'm okay with that. So, and I've always been like that. I have not changed my Priority Mail shipping prices probably for 5 years.
I think you can get away with that for a while. I just think for instance, a good example, for the longest time, McDonald's, they had their dollar menu and they had a whole list of items you could get. And for years, it was always $1. And I'm just man, that was the same price when I was in junior high or elementary school. It was the same list of items for $1. That because of inflation and cost of things going up, that they're losing more and more money each year. Right, on those items.
But in the long run, they're gaining more.
Well, I mean, that's true. But eventually, what do? They change it from the dollar menu to a value menu.
Yeah, 2 for $3 right now.
Yeah. And so they increase, they have to at some point, and it's almost like a big jump. It went from wait a minute, you had 20 items for $1 each, and now you've got 5 items that are 2 for $3, right? They have to at some point adjust with it. So you might end up if you do this with shipping, right? If over the next 5 years, costs go up, a couple percent every year, you might keep everything the same for a while. But then after that 5-year point, you might be all right, I need to raise my prices on shipping 5% across the board in order to just kind of make up for all of the years that I've lost and actually start to be closer to my original price. Because otherwise, if you continue and you stay the same forever, you'll end up losing money each year more and more.
See, I push back a little bit against that. I like the Costco chicken model. Right. If you go to Costco, right, their rotisserie chicken is pretty good. Alex, I think so. Or even their hot dogs, right? $1.50. It was $1.50 for a hot dog and a soda when I was 10 years old, when it was called Price Club. You remember? You don't remember Price Club. You weren't even born when it was Price Club. And so the Costco chicken model is they purposely put the chicken. Now, this could be conspiracy.
It's a loss leader.
It's a loss leader. It's all the way in the back of the store. But to get to it, you're going to see all this merchandise. And how many times have I know myself, I walked into Costco, I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm going to buy that, right? I didn't even plan on doing it. And I think it's the same thing for me. It's if I can charge just even 80 cents cheaper. So for instance, it's $12.80 if you buy your eBay label for a medium flat rate box. I think if you do it retail, I think it's over $15. It's 15 something. I charge $11.99. The reason I do that is when you go up in the search and you look at shoes, I may have the same pair of shoes as everybody else, but I have the cheapest shipping. It may not be a lot outside of free shipping. It may not be a lot more, but I think it does that psychological trick a little bit. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So take it or leave it.
There you go.
All right. And that's it for our reseller topics.
Yeah.
So hopefully that was helpful. Oh, no. I got one more.
All right.
I think this was really helpful. Shout out to Pirate Ship. Pirate Ship, you should sponsor us.
Yeah.
I'm going to send an email to Pirate Ship.
If you listen to Pure Hustle Podcast and you've already left us a review, that's the first one.
Or email Pirate Ship.
Yeah, too. So that's the thing. If you haven't left us a review yet, don't do anything else until you leave us a review on iTunes, because that's the biggest. But if you've already left us a review and you're still man, I really wish I could help Pure Hustle Podcast out a little bit. Yeah, let's just spam Pirate Ship's email and just say Pure Hustle Podcast is great. You should sponsor them.
Seriously. I'm going to send that an email out this week.
That'd be cool.
We'll see what happens. So they had this great thing about tips to lower your shipping costs. It was in their emails, one of the links. And I'm just going to share this because I thought it was great. So first tip was keep your packages under 1 pound. If you can make your package weigh 15.99 ounces or less. So by the way, some people had said that eBay isn't doing first class 16 ounces. They are. Just on when you do the listing, it's only letting you put 15 ounces, which is strange, but you can still ship first class as long as it's 16 ounces or less, right? So you'll save money if you ship first class. Then they said optimize your packaging. If your items will weigh more than 1 pound, the smaller you can make your package, the more you'll save with priority mail cubic, right? And that's pirate ship thing, right? Doing priority mail cubic. They said use an envelope instead of a box, which is huge, right? Not only are poly mailers lighter than boxes, but the way the USPS calculates cubic pricing with envelopes is more generous. And I'll give you an example. And I know some people aren't going to be happy with what I'm going to say. I've been shipping shoes in poly bags. I know. I had people.
Are you bubble wrapping them?
Nope. Now, if they're high-end shoes, I'm putting them in a box. But if it's, let's say it's a Vibram 5-finger, or let's say it's a pair of Merrell shoes, right, that are hiking, that have some cosmetic wear, or, you know, some kind of shoes like that, I'm actually putting them, you know, I'm turning them so like, you know, the top of the shoe is on each end, then putting it together and putting in a poly bag, and I'm taping it and I'm shipping out. And I've been saving sometimes $1, sometimes $2 to $3 on each one. But if I sell 100 shoes, that's a decent saving. So
yeah,
you could do it that way. That's been my new thing.
It's good. And you know what? I'm gonna totally, you know, admit that I was wrong on this. You're right. It's Merle. It's not Morel.
Okay.
I looked it up. I looked up a YouTube video.
Oh, really?
I looked up a YouTube video from the company.
Official? Oh, okay, from the company.
From the company talking about, hi, I'm Jennifer from the sales department of Merle. And I'm like, oh man.
Okay, so I'm right every once in a while in a pronunciation.
But that being said, I think Morel is a way better sounding name. So I might start my own company, my own shoe company, and call it Morel because it's way better.
Morel Mikes.
Just Morel. They could be Merle. I don't know. To me, it's like Merle. It just doesn't roll off the tongue the same. But Morel sounds like that's good. So, but anyways, so look out for that. My own brand of shoes, Morel. I'll spell it a little bit differently. Yeah, I'll pick up where they messed up on the naming. It's probably like someone's last name. I'm sorry if I'm offending Merle out there.
What are the odds of that?
It could be.
All right. They also said stop using regional rate or medium flat rate boxes, which that's one of the reasons I've been doing this, because I used to be all team flat rate. And now with putting shoes in a poly bag, I've been saving a lot of money. Save on label printing. That's, you know, they're basically saying use a thermal printer, which I need to get to. And then they push a simple export, right? Save on international shipping, which I'm still team GSP, but one day.
That's a shirt idea. Back. Team GSP.
I'm telling you, we need a t-shirt club. I keep saying this.
Not a t-shirt club. There's the logistics behind that.
Every month we'll send you a new shirt with a cool, like it'll have the PHP logo and it'll have like a nifty saying on it and it'll be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine the logistics behind that. But if you own a shirt company and you want to help us with that, you let us know. Shoot us a DM.
Yeah, please don't do your own.
We're going to business with it.
Don't do your own PHP t-shirt club and then
we've trademarked it.
We trademarked it.
We did the thing where we sent an email or we sent a letter in the post office and we wrote that we had this idea, so it was post dated already.
And there we go. All right, let's move on from resellers.
It's legal. That's official.
All right. Bolo.
It's time for
Bolo. What's your bolo?
Yeah.
I tried doing it and I couldn't do it.
You wanted to lip sync it?
I wanted to lip sync it.
Don't do it, man. It's awkward.
All right, what's your bolo?
Dolls.
You know, I just watched an X-Files where like the doll, like people were like being killed all day long. So tell me about dolls.
And I'm going to be specific with this. And I think this, the tip that I'm going to give is a little general too, which I think will help in maybe a lot of categories. And I could be wrong, and always do your research. But when I'm talking about dolls, I'm not a fan of, and I haven't done learning about like the decorative dolls, right? Like the ones you could tell like people buy, they're in the boxes and they're really fancy. The China doll.
My mom has like 100 dolls and they're worth nothing.
I know people are into those, and I'm sure there's some that are worth money. And every time I've seen them at like thrift stores when I first started, I'm like, ooh, this is probably expensive. And I try to look stuff up. Never got into that. But specifically, I'm talking about like more of a toy, actual kid doll, right? And specifically collectible ones. So I found when I was on my trip 2 dolls that were at the store that should not be named, and I think they were $1.99 each. and they were new in box. One of them, the box was a little bit messed up. The other one, the box was pretty crisp. And it was Madeline and Friends was the name of it. And I think it was, from a TV show, Madeline. And the two that I got, I think were both friends. I think one of them might've been Madeline and one of them was the friend. I don't remember. But the one we sold that just recently sold and we're going to make I think the total sell price was almost $80 and I paid $1.99 for it. It was one of the friends, one of the obscure friends in this series. And it got me thinking, and my wife was actually the one that brought this to my attention. I think she's onto something here. Is a lot of times when a show like that comes out, maybe new Star Wars or something like that, it's oftentimes the main figure, the main character that gets all of the attention and is mass produced, right? So it's the one that's there's tons of this one, and then there's some that are made of the friends and the ones that are not quite the main character. But what it kind of looked like when we were doing our research was that the friends, the ones that were the more obscure, are actually selling for more money. And I think the reason why is because there wasn't as many of them in population or in circulation. And kids who got those probably opened them and played with them, whereas parents were probably ooh, here's the Madeline doll. It's the main one. We're going to save this one and not open it. So there's probably more in circulation of unopened, of the mass produced, whereas the ones that weren't maybe as produced as many, scarcity creates value. And so when you're looking for things like that, don't be afraid to say, hey, this is, I don't know, Toy Story, figurine, and it's not a Woody or a Buzz. It's, the Slinky dog. It's probably not worth as much. Well, you might actually be wrong. The Slinky dog might be worth way more than the Buzz or the Woody, because the Buzz and Woody were everywhere and there were fewer Slinky dogs made, type of a thing, right? So don't be afraid to look at the side characters in shows or in toys or things like that, because those are often there's not as many of them produced, and that scarcity could create more value in the long run. So if you're at a thrift store and you're looking at stuff and you see one of the side characters, that might be worth triggering to say, hey, this might actually be worth more than a main character. Now, I'm sure there's other situations where the main character is going to be the one that's worth infinitely more. But again, every situation is going to be different. But I think there's something to the fact of the ones that are not quite as popular might actually sell for more in the long run.
That's good. I think Toy Story, I want to remember examples, but I remember when I was doing retail arbitrage, it was easy to find Buzz and Woody, but some of the more obscure ones would go for more money at times. So, and it goes also with toys where you need the accessories, right? It's easy to get the toy itself, but sometimes people are just looking for a certain accessory that they can't find. So that's good. All right.
Yeah.
We're always trying to get creative here, right? So we keep repeating the same.
Because we could always just say,
Doc Martens.
Merles.
Yeah, Merles.
Just get yourself some Merles.
All right. So mine is stowaway jackets. Do you know what I mean by stowaway jackets?
The ones fold up and you can zip into a pocket of its own.
Yes. Yeah. I cannot hold on to a stowaway jacket for as long as it's a good brand like Patagonia, North Face, LL Bean, for more than a week. Usually the moment I list it, within a week, it's gone. Right. And make sure in your listing that you take a picture of it in the little bag, right? Don't say it's a stowaway jacket and then you don't have that picture. Now, I don't make it my initial picture because when people are scrolling, they're gonna be like, what? Now, maybe it'll work. Maybe people will be like, what is this? And click on it.
But maybe you can do a doctor picture where it's two, it shows the real thing, true. And then it folded up next to it.
Yeah. I've never gone to that. I know some people do that. I don't know. I always wonder if it's harder for people to know what it is if you do that, but it may be good. But keep an eye out, because especially right now as we're getting into winter, one of the jackets I wish I didn't lose growing up was I had a North Face black puffer coat, and it was a stowaway one. It's kind of crazy. And right now, I'm going to just throw this out there. I should just look it up right now, but I know that they're money if they're stowaway, because I remember when I bought it, it cost me $300. And if you can find vintage stowaway jackets, those are money too. So just keep an eye, because people are looking, to travel. They want to have something light, and they want to be able to, just be able to go maybe hiking, right? They want to have something that they don't have to wear. And if they need to wear a jacket, they'll wear that jacket. So keep an eye for puffer coats or raincoats, or especially Gore-Tex that are stowaways. Those can be money. Right. And it has to be the brand. So obviously you have to do the research, but that's my BOLO.
Yeah. And so maybe, the tip to take away is if you got a jacket that hasn't been selling for a while, try and shove the jacket in its own pocket and see if you can turn it into a stowaway.
You know what? I have done that a few times. I'm like, I wonder if this is a stowaway. And like, I'm going. And it's not a stowaway. So yeah.
I just wrinkled this thing for no reason.
Usually if it's a stowaway, it's an inside pocket with a zipper, right? It's not the random pocket on the outside that you can like roll into. I'm not going to lie. I've tried that though. Yeah. So, all right. Okay. So what are you looking forward to in this next week? Or two? So
actually our talk on this episode kind of got me thinking, I think I'm going to go through my store and put some items on auction. I think I'm going to try that. I haven't really done auctions since I first started eBay. And so, we've had a few interviews where people have talked about doing it and being successful for certain items. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to go through some of the old stuff that we have that has just been sitting for a while and auction it at a price where it's even at a break even. That's maybe I'll make that my starting point is the break even, just because I'd rather have the cash than that item if it's never going to sell or if it's going to be years before it sells. I think I could do more with that cash and the knowledge I have now than I could, with that inventory just sitting there. So
I'm gonna do the same. Yeah. Like today, it's Sunday, right? When we're recording this. So
when's a good auction day? Like I always wonder that. Is Sunday the auction day?
Sunday, 7-day. If you look, some people there might be people disagree, but usually it's Sunday because it's end of the week and usually people are home by Sunday evening, right? So
what's the good end time?
I think a good end time is about like 4 or 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because on the East Coast that's 8 or 9 p.m. Right? Before people go to bed. Yeah. And so yeah, I'm gonna do that too. Yeah, so and we'll report back. I am not looking forward to the shipping.
I mean, maybe don't do tons of items. Maybe do like 15 or 20 items, because that's not terrible. You can get through that.
Yeah, I was gonna do more. I just wanted to go to bed going ching 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 ching, and then wake up. Well, I wouldn't be going to bed. It'd be in the evening that it'd be going off. But all right, let's do it. Let's report back and see what happens.
Let's do it.
So I'm kind of worried that here's the thing: if it doesn't sell, then it means it might never sell.
Yeah.
Right. Possibly.
Maybe do auction at break even point for a couple months. Just let it relist because that's the other thing too. Is you get a lot of.
I'm not going to do break even on mine though.
You're going to do.
I'm going to need some kind of profit.
I mean, that's fair. I think. Well, and that's the reason why I say make the starting point break even, because then when it bids up, you're good. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think there's something to like maybe start it, but starting it higher, but maybe, do fewer items, just do enough to kind of, figure it out. But if an item has been on for a couple of months, you've tried auction every Sunday, you relist it as an auction. Maybe at that point it triggers this might just be a donate, or I'm going to do my own garage sale or go to a swap meet, because that could be the clear indication that this item is just it's not going to move.
Yeah. Cause I was thinking the argument, well, maybe the right buyer hasn't showed up, but I have some items that have been in my store for 4 or 5 years. That buyer might
not be born yet.
That buyer might have passed away by the time he see the item. Who knows? All right.
We went to both ends of the spectrum there.
We did.
Not even born and already died.
All right. Well, good. All right. So we're both looking forward to that. I'm going to be doing one last major push on eBay. What I mean by that is I have been sourcing things intentionally and not listing them. What I mean is this. So I want to have at least a good 500 items that are unlisted, that I will, during Q4, when I'm busy doing all kinds of Amazon stuff, that I will make them go live like 10 or 15 a day during Q4, that I don't have to source anymore. I don't have to go looking for. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Right. So then I can just devote my time to Amazon, and I'm like, oh no, my eBay store is still going to be good because I already have the inventory to list. Maybe I'll hire a helper and I'll just have them do all the listings. And then there'll be drafts for whatever way I do it. And then once Q4 hits hardcore in October and November, I'll have those drafts and I'll just make those things go live.
But I think if you already have the draft, it's better to have it listed earlier. I mean, I'm a big believer that, and again, I could be wrong, but if you've got, and I get what you're saying as far as like, you want to have the algorithm triggered all the way through even when you're busy, but I'd rather have an item listed today than sitting as a draft for 2 weeks so that I could trigger the algorithm 2 weeks from now.
No, I get what you're saying. I got to figure out the way it's going to look, but I'm trying to have enough inventory for eBay so I don't have to stress about. That was my, the difficulty I had last year. That's why I hired a helper, and it was great. Now I have to either go. I haven't talked to my helper in a long time, so see if she's available. Now I have to find another helper. And also I have to look into, do I want to have an Amazon team? I don't know, man. Sharing it's hard. It's tough. I mean, this summer, you know, that one item I talked to you about, which we'll share in a future episode.
Hey, maybe my wife and I can be part of your team because we don't do Amazon. Like, we're not really competition. You can just give us a commission off each item that we pick up. You know,
maybe I trust you guys. So, if I can't trust you, who can I trust?
That's right.
So, all right. Hey, so that is the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. As always, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.